I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. Today on the show, we have the president of European Mentoring and Coaching Council, Mikko Sorvari. Welcome, Mikko.
Thank you, and I appreciate the invite.
We will talk about coaching and standards and where coaching is going, what coaching even is, and how do we transform our lives with the power of coaching and mentoring and all these other things that help us get better in our lives. And then I have nobody better who to talk about this specific topic than Mikko, who is heading up one of the largest coaching organizations in the world, European Mentoring and Coaching Council. Mikko, why don't we start with a simple question? What is coaching?
That is not a simple question, and I know you set me up for this one because I think in today's world, if you go and tell somebody that I'm an executive coach, or I'm a coach, it's almost like the umbrella term for all kinds of things, and we call it coaching and coach. There's executive coaches, there are team coaches, there are sports coaches, there's health coaches, wellness coaches, and the list goes on. And I think what sometimes causes a lot of confusion out there as well. It's almost like you and I came back from a fishing trip, and we talk about a fish. You talk about a nice big pike you caught, and I'm talking about my big trout that I caught. We both talk passionately about the fish, not realizing we're talking a totally different fish here. So when it comes to coaching, and then what even more makes it difficult and for people to understand is that there's also mentoring, there's facilitation, there's training, there's all other things that people tend to think of us as coaching as well. So it's very difficult to say what coaching exactly is unless you go a little bit deeper and say what type of coaching are you talking about. So personally, when I talk about coaching, I always introduce myself as an executive coach because that kind of narrows it down from just the umbrella term coach.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go a little bit deeper into this subject. So most people would be very familiar with the coach in the sports terms. Mm-hmm. If you go and want to win the Olympics, I think there's only one or two people in the world who's done it without a coach, so they would hire a coach. But is that in traditional sense of the word? Is that person who coaches you, is he or she more of a trainer? Is he more a motivator? Is he a cheerleader? Instructor, like what are all these modalities? Like how do we, let's unpack this in a sports world before we transition into other forms of coaching.
That's a good comparison to do with sports coaches versus any other type of coaches that we talk about, especially with the EMCC Global, where I'm the president currently. But a sport coach usually is an expert in the sport that they're coaching. They usually know that sport inside out, whereas executive coach, I've been coaching for the last 5 years, executives, bank CEOs, and their direct reports in Finland, for example. I know very little about banking. So I don't coach them on the thing they do. I coach them on the thing they are. So there's a difference. Usually a sports coach them on the thing that their athlete is doing, where I focus more on being part of the person.
That's a big distinction.
And if you think about the word coach, it comes from the word coach, horse-drawn coach, and the definition is taking people from one place to another, taking a person from here to there. And I would say the coaching is a lot about I meet you here, I meet you where you are today, and I'm working with you to take you from here to the next place you want to be in your life. Mm-hmm. And we focus more on you as a person, not the things you're doing.
I see. So coach help to take person from point A to point B. Arguably, you could say that other people also help you get from A to B. Like consultants would help the same way, mentors would help the same way. Yeah. So let's tease out the differences, what coach does specifically, and then others don't do, and then or were they complementary.
So just a quick term. So if I'm a consultant, I get paid to tell you what to do, and you trust me as a consultant, and I'm an expert. And when I tell you should do A, B, and C, you take that as the consultant told me to do this, therefore I should be comfortably able to do it. A mentor, then on the other hand, sometimes somebody has gone the path before you, or they have expertise, and they use a little bit more mature than you are, and they help you navigate through the nuances of the corporate environment, for example. So you can have a mentor in the same corporation where you work in as a junior director or something, and you have a mentor higher up that's gone your path before you, and they can mentor you and coach you. Mentoring and coaching are very close in the sense that a lot of mentors also coach to a certain degree when they help you go from, and usually mentoring is a lot about taking you from your current position in an organization, to mentor you to grow up and to be the future leader in that organization. There's a lot of mentoring based on that. So, whereas a coach, we can talk about all kinds of things. It could be personal things and a lot of when you get the executive and C-level people, they appreciate just the time they get to stop and spend time thinking about themselves. They actually have that hour and a half to concentrate on themselves. And they don't have to worry about all the other things. And they have somebody trusted partner there that they know it's confidential, anything they talk about. And for them, the huge value is just being there with the coach and being able to talk and think out loud, the things that they think about, thinking out loud. And I heard a lot of feedback from my executives saying that's the most value they get is just having that moment where they can focus on themselves.
So it's about the conversation where the transformation happens. Sometimes it's even hearing themselves voice the problem, is the answer is in that question oftentimes, isn't it?
Exactly. Because, and I always say, especially when talking with CEOs and executives like that, I don't try to coach them how to do their job because I have no idea and I don't need to know. But I can help them outthink and look at things from different angles, maybe a different position, or think outside the box that's their normal by asking their good, open-ended questions that gets them to think a little bit different than they used to. And that's usually what's valuable.
So we touched on the coaching and the mentoring. So coaching doesn't have to be an expert in the field, as you mentioned. Mentor, however, is somebody who's traveled the path and then can guide you on what they've seen in their path. And then often it's the combination of both is very powerful. Yeah,
and hence that's as a EMCC Global, we are mentoring and coaching because we see the relationship that's so strong there.
So let's talk a little bit about the EMCC. So for those who might not know, European Mentoring Coaching Council, why don't you introduce actually what this organization is all about and when it was created and what does it do?
Yeah, so EMCC Global, and I kind of want to tell the story from how I ended up there and where I am today. Maybe that's a good way to introduce it. So I spent most of my life here in North America, in Canada, US. But 5 years ago, my wife and I decided, let's go to Europe for 5 years, spent 5 years in Europe. And so I was looking for some place where I can, work and do something. So I was fortunate. I found an executive coaching job at a financial institution, a financial group, and I got to coach executives and leadership teams there. But also, as I went there, I actually was quite accidental. I saw on LinkedIn and this thing called 5-day challenge to get your EMCC coaching accreditation. And I got intrigued. So I said, well, that sounds good because I'm a procrastinator. So I said, maybe this will help me, get something in my coaching world too that validates that I'm a professional and I know what I'm doing. So I did take the 5-day challenge for the EMCC Global, and I got my senior practitioner accreditation. And as I got then introduced, there actually was an EMCC Finland. So EMCC Global, we are currently in 30 plus countries, and we have 3 different regions as well, multiple countries in them. So we're quite large and globally. And so I got introduced to EMCC Finland, and I ended up being nominated or fortunate. I ended up being the VP for the board of directors there for the first year, and the following year I became the president of EMCC Finland. And what's EMCC is the countries are very autonomous from the global. They get to make a lot of their own decisions. They keep track of their own memberships and they get to do their own things. But from the global level, we actually do the accreditation. So which is a little bit different than the other big player in the field is ICF, which is, awesome organization as well. I have nothing but good things to say about them. But there's a difference with us is that they focus more on the coaching processes when they certify their coaches, where we focus more on the self-reflection and that you are, as a coach, developing yourself professionally at all times. And therefore, depending on your hours you've coached and the level you're at, and how long you've been doing it, and so you can get different levels with us accreditations as well. And for example, I'm a senior practitioner, which is minimum 500 hours coaching. You can go to master level, where we're talking thousands of hours of coaching, which I do have thousands of hours. But to me, the master is something that, don't take it lightly. I want to be sure that I am truly a coaching master before I take that. So it's as an organization, what we do is we do a lot of training. We do a lot of webinars and stuff on people, become better coaches, and we do really scrutinize people that want to be accredited before we give that stamp of accreditation. Because I look at it that today's world, like you and I talked in the car on the way here, that just about anybody can claim to be a coach. There's no regulation or rules. Anybody can say I'm a coach. But what we hope to be is that stamp of approval that this person, when they get EMCC accreditation, they've been vetted through, and we know they're truly a professional that takes the profession seriously. They do continuous learning, and one thing we do very much too is we do a lot of supervision, which everybody's required to do supervision, which it sense maybe not what you think when I say supervision. It's more each coach have to have somebody that they can do self-reflection on their coaching and, get better at the craft. So we take those things seriously. So I almost see EMCC as we are the quality stamp for coaches. That you know what you're buying, with a guarantee that when you're buying a coach or you're getting a coach for yourself and it's got EMCC accreditation, you're getting a professional.
So a lot of people might believe that coaching is kind of this wild west. Anybody can call themselves a coach, and then the industry has exploded in the last decade or so, and there's all kinds of types of coaches are out there, and the industry is not regulated, perhaps, and it makes it difficult for people to find, who is the good coach. Are they certified? Are they do they know what they're talking about, and all these things? So the organization such as yours, European Mentoring and Coaching Council, has been around for like 30, 40 years, over 30 years.
Early 90s, yeah.
So, and it's been putting out the professional standards of coaching in place. So for somebody who is looking for a coach, and if they find somebody and then they are certified by a certain organization, so it could be certified by EMCC or ICF, or it could be certified by other organizations that is accredited by EMCC or ICF. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And if they're certified by EMCC, so that would be like what kind of a badge, like what the badge of approval, what would they be looking for?
So there's multiple levels to this, and we have multiple levels of certifications, or accreditations. But one of the things is that you have to adhere to our code of ethics. That's one thing. You have to actually sign on a dotted line that I will adhere to this code of ethics that we have laid out. We also have all different kind of competencies when it comes to coaching, and you have to actually learn and understand those competencies before you can, become a coach. And then you have to do a lot of self-reflection. And then for me example, and it was kind of why I fell in love with EMCC at the time when I did the 5-day challenge, was because I got to reflect back on my career as a coach from the day when I started and how I'd grown and all the training I'd taken, all the executive coaching certifications and all the things that I'd done. I got to reflect all the way back, and it kind of like when I got through the process, I felt really good that yes, I can call myself a senior practitioner because I'd done all this and it was all plain and clear. And we all have those doubts in our heads that am I good enough for it? Am I really a coach? Or but when you go through that process, it's eye-opening that you can actually say yes, I am, and you feel good about it.
And are there different levels? Like you mentioned, senior practitioner. Is there such a thing as like maybe junior or
practitioner is the first level, which requires 200 hours of coaching and some supervision, and then you have the senior practitioner, which comes to 500
And that's the highest level, or there's
No, then they have a master practitioner.
master practitioner, which requires even more
Which
hours.
then requires, you have to actually have significant contributions to the coaching industry. So a lot of people, they wrote a book or they have a training facility where they train coaches or something. They contribute in a larger way. It's not anymore solely about coaching. It's actually contributing to the community.
Okay. All right. So great. So let's turn the focus of the conversation a little bit to what is possible when somebody works with a coach. And I'm sure you've seen all kinds of stories and transformations, whether through your own coaching career or through practitioners that are in your organizations. So maybe you can give us one or two stories.
So I can talk about a specific bank CEO that I work with, and I think it's one of those good success stories. So she was actually applying for a job as a bank CEO at the time when I got introduced to her and I started coaching her. And we talked a lot about her. What does it take to become from where she was at the time, bank manager, to be a CEO and all that. And, I helped her really think through these things. And she, of course, she did get the job. So she was so excited about it. She didn't just say, okay, we're done. She said, I want you to continue. And she actually then purchased coaching for her new leadership team as well. But then her ambitions this was a medium-sized bank. She wanted to be a CEO of one of the bigger banks, right? The big banks. So within 2 years, we started now working on how do I get from where I am today to the next level. And through our coaching and working with her, we got her actually, where she then ended up being even higher and a bigger bank. And throughout, I think, the last 6 years, she kept me coaching her and her leadership team. So we did both team coaching and individual one-to-one coaching. So it kind of worked with her all the way from being a bank manager to being CEO of a large banking corporation. So even today, she says she would never be there without she didn't have the support of the coach there.
So would it be fair to say that she didn't even see the hill to climb had she not started the work with a coach?
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the really interesting things too, where another success story, and I'm just going to use mine, and I think that's where you're alluding to me tell about stories, and where I saw success, not somebody else's. So one thing too was the financial organization that I worked with at the time. They did a lot of mergers of the smaller banks to build bigger banks. So 4 or 5 little banks will get together and be a bigger bank. And I was fortunate to be part of a coach in the new leadership teams. Because you got 3 or 4 bank CEOs coming together to run one bigger bank, but only one of them could be the new CEO, and the other 3 have to report to this person, and they're all used to making the decisions. They used to be the boss man, and now suddenly you're not. You're actually accountable to somebody. So they had a lot of unlearning. And then, of course, the new CEO always had all these doubts about, because some of the guys that now reported to him had been CEOs maybe 10 years longer than the new CEO was. So he had a lot of, confidence building for him that, yes, you were selected for this role for a reason. And so I was involved in about 6 or 7 different of these mergers. And there was in Finland, there was a university student that wanted to do her thesis on the impact of executive coaching on organizational mergers. And she went around and actually interviewed all these people that were involved in these mergers. And I was quite nervous myself too, when she released her paper that, what are these people saying about, me as a coach? And then it was actually, it was almost like unbelievable, the good feedback that came through that thesis. And almost, I think 5 out of the other 6 CEOs said they wish the coaching would have been brought on earlier in the process, right from when they started planning it, rather than later on when they already was kind of like the deal was made and they had to start working together.
So who would you say is a good candidate for coaching?
Anybody. Anybody with ambitions and wanting to do a better their life.
In any domain of their life?
Any domain, any part of life, yeah.
Do you think everybody is ready for coaching?
That's one thing, you have to be ready for coaching.
And
not everybody is.
What makes someone ready?
You have to be willing to be looking at that mirror that the coach puts in front of you. And you have to want to go forward in your life. There has to be a compelling reason for you that you want to move forward, you want to do something differently.
You have to have the magnetic desire. Do you have to have a vision of what I want in my life?
Not necessarily, because we usually work on the vision too. Because we usually start off that, what's a good end result for this coaching? When we get to the end of I usually do, 6 month, 1 year agreements to coach. So we spend time. What would good look like at the end of the 6 months or a year? Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? We actually start from there.
Do I have to have a problem to
No.
start working with a coach?
No. I actually, and this is maybe I get in trouble with this, but I do very little coaching on everyday problems that they encounter in their jobs, because they're professional. They know the answer. They just want to talk to somebody that's going to agree with them and tap them on the shoulder. Yeah, you're right, do that, and they feel good about it. I rather we set a goal in the future where we want to be and work towards that goal. And it doesn't have to be problem solving. It has to be just how do we get from here to there in my career, in my life, and whatever it happens to be, rather than solving those problems that are urgent at the time. Of course, if I have a executive or a client that comes to me and they're just, you can tell they're rattled up and they have something going on, we deal with that first. And sometimes the whole session ends up being dealing with it. But I try to, avoid those. I try to rather long-term results than moment results.
Interesting. I often think of this paradox, and I'm really curious to get your opinion on this. Lots of people think there's so many coaches. Some people think there's way too many coaches, and coaches themselves think there is too many coaches. And I personally think actually there's not enough coaches, but that's a different point. What the paradox is this. With all the explosion in the coaching industry, if you ask your 5 closest friends, how many of them will have a coach?
And that's I was just going to say when you said, are there too many coaches? And we coaches think there's too many coaches because that's our bubble. Everybody's a coach. So we assume that's the reality out there in the world. But you're right. If I talk almost anybody of my closest friends or family and stuff, and they ask me, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm an executive coach. They have no idea what it means. And most people, if you just say I'm a coach, they assume it's something related to sports. I'm a hockey coach or I'm a soccer coach.
Fitness coach.
Yeah. So they assume it's something like that. So I think that's part of the problem that we have as a coaching community as a whole, is that we are a little bit in this our own little bubble where we all are coaches, we all are this, and we assume everybody knows what coaching is. And I don't think we do good enough job in marketing coaching to the masses out there. And even now, I think in organization, the coaching happens quite often at the senior management, senior executive level, HR executive level. It doesn't reach all the way down to the everyday middle manager.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the marketing of coaching in a moment. Before we get there, what do you think has to happen at the industry level of coaching for 2 of your friends, 2 out of your 5 closest friends to say that I had a coach?
That's what needs to happen. I think what needs to happen, how do we make it a cultural thing that, it's and I think the newer generations are more open to it than us old dogs, but how do we make it culturally so that everybody recognizes that having a coach is actually a good thing? I had to actually fight at the bank where I went first against the stigma that where everybody thought that if you get a coach, it means you're not failing at your job, or this is the last effort to help you before you get fired, right? And it kind of had a negative conversation about what coaching is. People thought if you get a coach, if you're not performing, then they bring you a coach to help you perform better. And that's not all true at all. Where I had to actually keep saying that, no, I want the brightest people to be even better. And so I think there's a cultural shift there. The understanding that coaching is not there to because you're failing, you're not doing good, therefore I need a coach. It's you can be absolutely doing fantastic, and a coach can help take you even to the next level. So that's one. Another one is coaching is quite expensive still. And I think there's a monetary issue there. Is that if I talk to, most of my friends would say, I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay those prices. So how do we get maybe one of the big insurance companies to make it that you can actually get insurance and you can actually claim coaching as insurance? Or employees actually offer coaching as a part of their benefit package.
Do you see group coaching as a viable option to reduce the costs?
Absolutely. Group coaching and team coaching as well. And I'm sure we're going to touch a little bit more too on AI and how that could help in those things. But I think part of it is, I think too, that if organization would say, when you hire somebody, hey, oh, by the way, you get X many hours of coaching as a part of our benefits package. I think that would go a long way. And I know of companies that do it.
Would you mind sharing?
So I was at one of the platforms, big platforms. I'm not going to say any names here. And there was a person whose organization is actually Toronto-based. And he has actually, they offer right now to their employees, all employees, free coaching and their families as a benefit. And this is a big organization here in Ontario. Wow. So imagine if every employer would say that, part of our benefit package is that you get X many hours free coaching. That'd be a huge, huge difference.
And I think the educational campaign has to happen on what coaching is and what coaching does, and then and work on maybe the stigma that is perhaps still attached to it. Like if you're working with a coach, it's like if you're working with a shrink, something's wrong with you. Yeah. Like if you have a psychologist, like you have a psychological issue. Well, not necessarily. If you have a relationship coach, like doesn't mean something's wrong with a relationship. No, you just want to make it better.
Yeah. And I think coaching still has a little bit of that stigma. And if organizations started looking at it, it's actually preventive before those issues happen. Coaching can help prevent a lot of the turmoil and the issues that happen within employees and managements and stuff. So you can look at it as preventing issues down the road.
Mm. So speaking of promoting coaching and marketing of coaching and as an industry as a whole, you will be speaking at the Global Coaching Summit in November.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Hosted by our platform, Dream Coach Match. So what makes you excited about that opportunity?
Well, right now, what makes me really excited is that I hope we get a huge audience, because things like that are the ones we need. And because it targets people that never had coaching before. And we're trying to get those people in and get a little taste of what coaching is. So even out of that group, however it showed up, imagine if everybody gets a little taste of it, they tell their friend who tells their friend, we could potentially reach 100,000 people and educate them more on what coaching is. So I think I really appreciate you doing it, and I'm looking really forward to it, because I think it could be a tremendous impact.
Certainly, that's certainly part of the mission, is to inspire that movement, and people see what's possible when you have a coach, and they hopefully get the coach for themselves. But even if not, they get to see what it's like to experience the transformation that coaching can do, whether it's in one-on-one or in group coaching format.
And I just take it back to myself again that at the time when I went up in IT, I started off as a programmer and VP of software in one day and stuff, and it was probably in the 2009 maybe before that. I met for the first time someone who I consider was the first person that coached me. And I've not met that person. We actually met in a conference, became friends. And if I have not met that person then, and him taking the kind of like the mentor coaching role with me, I would not be here today. I can guarantee you that. Like if he wasn't there to ask me the questions and make myself look in the mirror and all those things, the stories that I told myself why I can't do or be something, and he busted them all. And then,
It's interesting. We all have one conversation that we had in our lives that changed it all.
Yeah, it is. And me was that was changed my life big time. And it was totally coincidence that we met.
So how'd you get into coaching yourself?
I was called kind of like the accidental coach because I had no ambitions to ever be a coach. But I think it started because I was in the IT industry and I was a programmer and coding and stuff. And, I found myself always that even when I was a VP of software, then when my office door was open, my peers and colleagues would come in and they sit there and they talk about issues that are going on. And, I just ask a couple of questions and I lend them an ear and listen. I really be present and listen to them. And they get all excited. Thanks, this was awesome. Thanks for helping me. And I'm like wondering, okay, but I really didn't do anything. And so that got me kind of interested. And then, of course, I went, like a lot of IT guys, I went through the agile transformation. I was an agile coach for, a long time. And part of that being the agile coach, I also didn't take a lot of training on coaching, what coaching is. And I think one of the other best things that ever happened to me was I took the organizational relationship and system coaching training, which was wonderful, and that kind of helped me in the team coaching part of my career. And as I was doing the agile transformation, I've realized that the higher up I got on the food chain and talking to executive stuff, the more impact I had. And I really got interested then into executive coaching, and I took the John Mattone executive coaching training and got certified, and then it just went from there. It just kind of took a life on its own.
Wonderful. And what excites you the most about your own coaching? What are those moments? Like, is that in preparation for a coaching session, or in the moment, or when the clients tell you something at the end? What are those moments?
It's when I see them succeed in their life and having that breakthrough. You can tell when they have a breakthrough. And I tell you, even some of the executive team coaching, leadership coaching sessions, somebody might start crying, not because from happiness. They realize something and they start crying. And because it's so the impact's so big, and the relief, and they realize. And I'll tell you a story. When we were in a team coaching session, and I usually we sit in a circle, and as we do the coaching, we talk. And there was this big burly guy, and he opened up and said that he suffered big time from imposter syndrome, and everybody's looking at him, and like, you're the most confident guy we have this. Like, what are you talking about? And he opened up and he told how he's constantly thinking that he doesn't belong in this leadership team, that he's somehow accidentally gotten himself there, and he's not worthy, he's not good enough. And when everybody, started looking at him, like, what's going on? And, it got very, very emotional, the conversation after that. And the best thing, I always tip my hat for the CEO at the time that I was sitting there too. He said, he actually reassured them all that none of you are here by accident. I choose you because you are good. And that, when he admitted to this, it kind of the trust level in that leadership team, everything that you could feel this. I could feel the shift in the entity above the team or the system. Like, you could feel the shift, how they clicked into a better place than where they were that morning when we started. And those are the moments to me when it's like I shake.
And the level of vulnerability and openness, and then letting the guards almost down, in order to get to that kind of transformation. So how vulnerable, how open do you and do you need to be in order to get to those breakthroughs?
So I've heard a lot of people say, as a coach, you can only coach to where you've been yourself. So I think. Depends on the team and stuff, but I usually try to get to a very vulnerable place, because I think that's where the magic happens. When everybody finally realizes that, hey, we're all in this together, we're all in the same boat, I'm no different than you are, and the conversation shift to things that they hold dear to themselves, and things that they were being afraid to speak out before, thinking that if I say this, the rest of the team might think I'm stupid or something, and they start actually having those real conversations. And that's where the shift happens. And those are unbelievably satisfying moments to you as a coach.
Yeah.
And on individual level, the same. Like, I always, when somebody leans forward, okay, not even my wife knows about this. It's like, you go, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Those are the juicy moments. So going back to somebody who is a good candidate of coaching, you said anybody who would, but then not everybody is ready. But when they are ready, so how do you look for the right coach? Like, who's a good coach? Who's the right coach? How would somebody go about this?
I think it still comes a lot to the synergy. and you have to feel, and that's, as coaches, we do the synergy call, and then, we kind of like feel each other out, and can I trust this person, and as a coach, it's important too, because I have a situation when the person that comes to me and want me to coach them, they remind me of somebody that I had a bad experience about, or the body language, the way they talk, just the look, something triggers in me. And I have to seriously, can I get over that first reaction to coach this person and take them as who they are, not the person that I already labeled them to be? So as a coach too, it's not everybody's the right coachee for you, because if you have any of these reactions or these own biases that you bring to the table, then you're not going to do this person the service you want to, because you hold back because you have something. And same thing with the coachee, when they see you first time, they might also, hey, you remind them of this dude that once kicked their teeth in or something, and it's not going to work, right? Yeah. It's if they have a strong reaction to you, and as people, we communicate more without words than we do with words. So we feel the connection. Yeah. And even online, when you meet somebody, you feel the connection and the synergy, you feel it rather than, but if you have a gut feeling, this is not, don't push it. It's not for you. It's much better to, hey, I have a colleague, really good coach, maybe, give him a call and see if you have the synergy there.
Yeah, and to bring it full circle, we started the conversation with certification and making sure that the coaches are actually following standards and procedures and codes of ethics. And this, like EMCC, is one of those stamps of approvals that you as a coachee would be looking for, like if they're certified by a reputable organization. So that's part of the equation. But the other part, as you just mentioned, is the synergy. And then how do you, are you on the same page? Do you want to work with this person? And so those make it, at least those two big components that make into equation of how to find the right coach. So let's talk a little bit about the future, where this industry is going. And I think nowadays it's impossible to have any conversation without touching on AI in some shape or form.
It's. I've been to last 3 or 4 conferences. It's all been about AI and coaching, and it is big right now, and I've said this before. Right now, AI, and I think it's in the infancy. That I remember when I started programming stuff, and internet came, and everybody talked about it, but nobody really knew what it is. So everybody was jumping on and talking about it and thinking, and if you look back, the things that came out of internet, Amazon, Google, all these things, nobody could predict them at the time when it started. So I see as AI as well is still in its infancy, and anybody who thinks they know what's it going to bring, how it's going to impact, is lying, because nobody knows, I don't think. And of course, there's also a lot of them now saying it's AI going to take the coach's job. And I actually replied on a LinkedIn post in there not long ago where somebody was saying that right now they can feed in all the data for Steve Jobs and all these people, and to be a coach. I said it doesn't matter how much data you feed into AI, it will never have had the experience you had as a human being going through it. He can't understand the emotions, the nervousness, the joy, and things that you do when you go. That you can sit still and a coach say nothing, and you still feel the support. You can feel. Sit still with the AI for a while, and there's nothing there.
Yeah. Well, and one might say that AI machines might get centennial, and it might also have the synthetic feelings, and they can predict the response.
Yeah, I'm not saying they never will, but right now, like I said, it's still in its infancy. We're still learning, and AI is learning every day. The speed it's learning is unbelievable. So, like I said, we can't predict where it goes and what's going to happen, and it's going to take a life on its own, and future will tell. But right now, as a coach, I wouldn't be too worried. People tend to also be more willing to pay a little more for authentic things than AI-generated things, if they know it's actually authentic, a person behind it. So I'm not. But if you're a coach that only uses one of the process in a coach by process coaching, right? You have a set of questions that AI can beat you on that any day. But if you bring a little bit of gut feeling and intuition and emotion and stuff into that coaching session, AI can't compete with you yet.
What are the other big trends you see that are impacting the industry? when it impacting already, or perhaps will be impacting in the years to come?
I think right now, two things that are happening a lot and is gaining momentum. One is team coaching. It's gaining a lot of momentum. I noticed myself in my practice too that in the last 3 or 4 years, I get more and more requests for leadership team coaching than one-on-one coaching. And it's a better bang for the buck for the client too, because they get a group of people. And for me, it's the same hour. It's not like I'm spending more time with the team. So I get more and more requests for team coaching. So that's one that I see is growing and growing, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. The other one is that, which right now, especially in Europe, it's been around for a while, is the supervision for coaching. And when I say supervision, it's not somebody looking over what you're doing or a boss telling you. It's got a little bit of a negative vibe here as well. When somebody says you need a supervisor or supervision, you take it as somebody's going to supervise you, but that's not it. And then we, as the EMCC Global, we had few meetings and we've been talking about, is there a better word for it? And I like to say it's kind of like reflective practices, where you sit with somebody and you reflect on your practice and how you are as a coach. So the supervision, and right now ICF as well is starting to pay more and more attention to supervision. And my challenge is to all these coaching platforms, yourself included, that when you have, some of them I know have 1,000 coaches there, how are you providing them the supervision and reflective practices? How do you provide them a safe space to talk about their practice and reflect back on, I might have had a horrible session. It wouldn't be nice that I can click on a button and there's a supervision opportunity for me. I can reflect while it's still fresh on my mind and talk about it out loud.
Does it have to happen live, or it could be reviewed?
Eventually, it could be an AI.
Yeah.
To mirror back, you can talk to. Yeah. But right now, the coaching platforms don't have anything there. So I see a huge opportunity there if you work at supervision.
Interesting. Maybe perhaps we can discuss how we can leverage some of the supervision capabilities and through
so right now I see those two definitely, and of course with AI there's opportunity there, because I use AI myself too a lot lately, and more every day, but it is still a really good tool. You can use AI right now yourself a little bit too, and using as a mirror. You can talk by your coaching session and, create a bot that, kind of mirrors your coaching style and can ask the right questions. So AI is another big, and I've seen some really good AI coaches. I've seen some that are really bad, but, that's another thing that's still growing.
Fascinating. Well, thank you, Mikko. That's been a wonderful conversation. So if you're open to it, we can do a rapid fire round. We'll ask you questions and then whatever comes to mind.
We can try it. Let's cut it off if it goes wrong.
If God granted you 3 wishes, what would they be for you and for the world?
Wow. I think, of course, health to my whole family. We all stay healthy and everybody stay healthy. And of course, all these stupid wars would end. That's one thing. And then more humanity in the world.
Those are great wishes. If you could take out 3 people, past or present, out to dinner, who would they be? Dead or alive?
Three people. It'd be a really interesting dinner would be if you have Obama, Trump, and who else? I'd love to be in there. Bring Putin in there too. Have dinner with those 3. I think it would be a really interesting conversation to be part of.
This would be a powerful conversation. If you could rent a billboard for 30 seconds that every person in the world would see it, what would you say on that?
So I would say take personal responsibility. And this is something that's coming up for myself later on, but it would be an awesome marketing tool for me.
Okay. Who do you currently study or follow at the moment? Who inspires you?
I'm an avid reader. I read books all the time about coaching and everything else. I do audiobooks, read books, and I follow a lot of people. But one that comes to mind, and this again is a shameless plug for me, it is Christopher Avery, Dr. Christopher Avery, and his responsibility process.
So we'll put a link in the book. Yeah. It's his book or his course.
His book is called also the responsibility process. Yeah, and he's got a really good process behind how to take personal responsibility. And when I alluded, I met this person that coached and changed my life. That's Christopher. He's been absolutely somebody that changed my life.
Phenomenal. What concerns you the most, Mikko?
What concerns me the most? I think right now what concerns me a lot, I feel like there's a lot of insensitivity. Is it right? Insensitivity or we've been desensitized to violence and all that stuff. Like I think when you look at some horrible acts that happen out there and people don't step in, they film it and they go viral, and nobody seems to really get that reaction that I get, like, oh my God, like, this is not right.
Yeah.
So I think that worries me sometimes. The younger generation I don't know what it is. Is it because they're exposed to it so much through their video games and stuff? But it seems to be being desensitized to violence anymore. You see all kinds of these fist fights and stuff happening all over, and people have, and why? What's causing it? Why are we doing it to each other?
Feels like a big topic for another episode.
Yeah.
And then the last question, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Old Oak 3.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you. So for people who want to follow you and look you up, where they can find you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn. That's my main. I do have a Twitter account, but I tend to be there more for, fun stuff. But LinkedIn is the only place where
LinkedIn, Mikko Sorvari.
Yeah. Yeah. One and only.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey,
it's been a wonderful conversation.
It was awesome.